There were 45 tents scattered all over my land that night, bonfires hissing, coolers popping, and there she was, Karen, that HOA president with a spray tan and a god complex, leading a sing-along like she'd just been crowned queen of the swamp. I remember catching sight of Ricky, my gator, sliding out of the reeds and straight into the party, slow and silent as a rumor. Next thing you know, people are screaming, marshmallows are flying, and someone's ukulele bites the dust. Yep, that's me you're picturing right there in the middle of the madness. You probably want to know how a grown man ends up at war with the world's most aggressive PTA with teeth. Well, buckle up. Here's the thing about Florida, in case you've never had the pleasure, it's the only place I've ever lived where the humidity feels personal, like it's hugging you out of spite. Most folks can't stand it, but to me it's home. I've got this 10-acre chunk of swamp sandwiched between Highway 19 and a fancy neighborhood where people act like the world runs on HOA rules and yard flamingos. Granddad called it Frogs Hollow County, just called it Parcel B6721, and let the mosquitoes have their way. Nobody bothered us for years. Until Karen. Now, Karen didn't just move in. She descended, rolled up in stilettos, and started treating her HOA gig like she was running the Secret Service. Bought the biggest McMansion across the ditch, the kind with fake columns and a koi pond that got raided by raccoons twice a month. She made it her mission to beautify everything in her line of sight, which unfortunately included my half-wild, half-restored swamp. At first it was the looks, the kind of look you get when your fly's down at church. Rosé glass in hand, binoculars dangling from her neck, shaking her head at my place like I was lowering property values just by breathing. Then came the letters, laminated no less. Laminated complaints slipped into Ziplocs like ancient scrolls, unmaintained vegetation, animal structures in sight, fencing not up to code. Please address these issues promptly. I actually laughed out loud. Problem was, the joke kept going. I wasn't in her HOA. Never was, never would be. My property was grandfathered in by, well, my actual granddad. My fence, my rules. She didn't care. Filed a nuisance complaint about my fencing, said it was visual disarray. The county inspector took one look at my hog wire and cedar posts, complimented my work, and left whistling. I thought that was the end of it. But with Karen, there's always another round. She showed up at my porch with a clipboard and that tight fake IRS smile. Just a friendly check-in. Some neighbors are concerned about your reptiles. That's when I realized she'd done her homework. See, I'm not just some bearded swamp hermit. I've got a degree in wildlife biology, and I work with the state's nuisance alligator program. 3 alligators on my land. All legal, all tagged, all properly enclosed. My paperwork game was tighter than her tennis lessons. Showed her the permits. She sniffed the air and called it an eyesore and a liability. I told her the only liability out here was nosy neighbors with too much time and too little sense. Did that slow her down? Not even. Next week, my land was plastered on the community message board, neighboring properties bringing down value solutions at next meeting. I watched her try everything: zoning reviews, news crews. One afternoon, I'm waist-deep in algae scrubbing a turtle pond and a camera crew shows up. Heard there's gators here. Yup, I say. They're camera shy. Good luck. They got 2 minutes of Ricky sunning on a log and turned it into gators next door are your children at risk. I started getting knockers at the door, some scared, some nosy. One guy just wanted to know if I sold gator jerky. Karen, meanwhile, doubled down. Hosted a community vote to annex my land into the HOA. Showed up with a land use attorney whose teeth were too white to be real. My neighbor, one of those people who secretly hates the HOA but loves free wine, tipped me off. They think if they can claim your land, they'll make it up to code. Whatever that meant. I just sat on my porch that night, beer in hand, listening to the frogs and thinking about how fast a place you've loved your whole life can start feeling like it's slipping away. I'd spent 5 years fixing up that swamp. Planted cypress, built nesting mounds, cleaned out trash my granddad left behind. I wasn't going to let some suburban overlord turn it into another dog park. Called my friend over at Fish and Wildlife, got a compliance walkthrough, posted new authorized habitat do not enter signs everywhere. Next week I found one spray-painted swamp trash. That's when it got personal. She sent a drone over my land, posted footage online, called it evidence. I filed trespass complaints. She started organizing clean neighborhood rallies with signs saying drain the swamp. Real original. Every move she made I documented. Every phony complaint, every budget line she spent facing my way. I wasn't just keeping a swamp, I was building a case. And she had no clue what she was about to walk into. Then it started getting weird. Official-looking mail gold stickers on the envelope, all caps, courtesy warning, Riverbend Environmental Assessment Subcommittee. Accusing me of inadequate visual containment of aquatic enclosures. That's HOA code for I can see your swamp from my brunch table. Riverbend wasn't even a real municipality, it was just a fancy name for their subdivision some realtor made up. The citation went straight in my fire pit. But the paper chase didn't stop. More notices. Unauthorized exterior lighting for my solar path lights. Unpermitted structure for my nephew's duck blind. Mosquito propagation, because get this, my standing water was apparently the problem, not the subdivision's algae-ridden fountains. Karen had gone full bureaucracy ninja. Forged city code citations, dropped them in my mailbox like Christmas cards. But the real fun started while I was away. I was 4 hours south, knee-deep in lake mud, teaching kids about baby gators, and Karen was back home pitching Motion 16 Community Enrichment Events Extension at the HOA meeting. Claimed my land was temporarily available for a wilderness retreat. Never mind that I lived there year-round and had never said a word about renting it out. She dug up some old scout troop permit from years back, refilled it under a development clause, and the city too swamped to check rubber stamped the whole thing. I didn't find out until I came home and saw 45 tents on my land. I just stood there, boots squishing through the field, looking at a meditation dome and a bin labeled tripping hazard full of my solar lights. Some kid asked me if I was the ranger. No, I'm the owner. Karen in her safari getup and a damn ukulele looked at me like I'd crashed her surprise party. "You're back early," she chirped like she hadn't just cut my fence and repurposed my home into a campground. I'll give her this. She never broke character. It's just community in action. We're reconnecting with nature. Your land is underutilized. I must have looked like I'd swallowed a wasp. You're trespassing, all of you. Cut my fence, tore down my signs, dug a fire pit in a protected wetland. You call this friendly? She just rolled her eyes. You're so territorial. People are bonding. We made trail mix. Nearby, a toddler tottered by, holding 2 frogs, and a teenager tried to cannonball into the gator pond. I barely caught the kid in time. His mom chewed me out for grabbing him, then wanted a selfie with the alligator. I thought my head might explode. I tried to keep my voice calm, but it shook. You need to clear this out, now. Karen just folded her arms. You're making a scene. We have a permit. Besides, you weren't even here. That's when I knew this wasn't ignorance. It was war. And she'd waited until I was gone. I wasn't even mad anymore. I was focused. So I played it smart. I went inside, poured myself a tall glass of sweet tea, extra spite, and fired up the laptop. Called Marcus at Fish and Wildlife. Got a situation illegal camping event on top of a conservation pond. Kids fires the works. He didn't even hesitate. Text me the coordinates. We're on it. Filed a report with county code enforcement, attached every photo I'd snapped, cut fences, trampled signs, pop-up bathrooms behind palmettos. Then I emailed Tara, a local reporter who'd made a career out of blowing the lid off HOA scandals. Subject line HOA, President hosts unlicensed campout in protected wetland, bribes marshmallow gods. While I waited, I dug up the one document most folks forget, the conservation easement. Granddad had filed it back in the 90s, protected my land from development, made it a criminal offense to mess with wildlife. Printed a few copies, highlighted the good parts, labeled a USB drive, Karen's Last Supper. Then I sat back and watched the circus. Campers singing Kumbaya, Karen strutting around giving interviews like she was running summer camp, not a crime scene. That's when Tara rolled up, camera-ready, eyes sparkling like she'd smelled fresh scandal. "This is a lawsuit in cargo shorts," she muttered. I just pointed to the marsh. Ricky was moving slow, nosing through the weeds, 9 feet of prehistoric attitude drawn to the noise and heat. When he slid up to the edge of the party, everything stopped. One kid screamed, then a grown man. Chairs and marshmallows went flying. Karen tried to take control. "Stay calm. It's just a large amphibian," someone yelled. "Lady, that's a gator." "It's probably fine," she said. "Just grab a broom." That's when the police showed up. Sirens, lights, real uniforms. Marcus and his crew right behind grim as Judgment Day. How many campers? 45. Maybe more. They hustled everyone out. Parents yelling, kids crying, HOA, board members trying to look invisible. Ricky, ever the showman, gave everyone one last look and slipped back into the water tail, gliding like a signature. Tara caught the whole thing on tape. Marcus came over smiling like a man who loves paperwork. "You weren't kidding." "Nope. All documented." Karen, meanwhile, tried to talk her way out. "It was for community morale. We had a permit signed by who? Myself. And the HOA board." "That's not how federal law works, ma'am." That night, with the fire dying down and the coolers packed, law enforcement handed out citations, Fish and Wildlife filed formal charges, and Tara's expose hit the news before sunrise. Karen's face was everywhere, red, furious, caught between denial and realization. By Monday, the HOA's Facebook group was a wildfire, angry parents' fines piling up, and the number that really got them, almost $18,000 in immediate fines, $112,000, projected in restoration, legal, and insurance costs. The HOA's Pride and Joy Fund, the one Karen used to brag about, vanished overnight, eaten up by state fees and cleanup bills. Suddenly, perfect lawns didn't matter. The next meeting was held outside, under floodlights, neighbors waving violation notices, and Tara's newsprint. Even Karen's best friend turned on her, said the marsh ruined her hiking socks. The board quit, the treasurer started selling cosmetics, and Karen tried to blame faulty permits and rogue campers. Nobody bought it. County stripped the HOA of authority pending audit. The board's last act was to set a date for their own funeral. Nobody showed up. Tara's story ran every night that week. Ricky the Gator even got a celebrity mention. Riverbend, once a perfect neighborhood, was now known as the place that went bankrupt trying to conquer a swamp. I watched it all from my porch, sometimes with bourbon, sometimes just me and the frogs. Spent a few days collecting trash, fixing fences, and I hung the battered ukulele from an oak as a reminder. Used the settlement money to fortify the property, steel signs everywhere, no trespassing, no camping. Violators may be filmed and fed to local media. Built a kiosk with a touchscreen about the conservation project, pictures of Ricky in all his glory. Schools started booking tours, wildlife folks came by, even the mayor sent a letter. The neighborhood changed. For sale signs went up faster than palmetto bugs. Karen's house sat empty for months, price dropping every time the scandal popped up online. When I saw her leave for the last time, bags in hand, face pale, she didn't look at me. Didn't wave. Just drove off, reputation in tatters. Word is she's up north now consulting. Some people never learn. The HOA gone. Board scattered. Riverbend became what it should have been, a patchwork of families and wild places. Ricky loved the attention. School kids came to visit, and the news crews filmed Florida's wildest homeowners. Some nights, as the sun drops behind the cypress and the frogs start up, I catch myself smiling in the window, peaceful, a little smug. I made my stand, protected my home, took down an empire of paperwork and petty tyranny. The air is thick, but so is the satisfaction. I sip my tea, watch the lightning bugs flicker, and listen for Ricky's grunt at the water's edge. And right there on the fence, gleaming in the moonlight, is the new sign, private property. Trespassers may be educated or eaten. In Florida, some lessons you only need to learn once. You ever see a place stand up for itself like that? Or seen karma hit so hard it leaves a dent? I'd love to know, where's the line for justice in your book? When is fighting back the right move? Drop your story, your opinion, whatever you've got. This swamp's got plenty of room for another tale.